Hello and welcome to the Thunder Nerds. My name is Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do and do tech
good.
Hey!
We're doing tech, everybody. And speaking of doing tech, we have a sponsor for the full year that is allowing us to do just that. We have Pantheon.io. Thank you so much, Pantheon, for sponsoring the show. Pantheon, if you don't know, they provide a platform for WordPress, for Drupal 7, Drupal 8. They have a dev, test, and live environment, so you can easily push stuff out, try it out, see what it looks like before you commit it to your live site. You could deploy things securely. You could easily add teams, push stuff through Git, SFTP. They're pretty much the best service I've ever had with a platform like this. I really enjoy Pantheon, so thank you, Pantheon.io, for supporting the show. And speaking about Pantheon.io, we actually have someone as a guest from Pantheon, and we'll get to her in just a few minutes. But, Janelle, I think you have something else to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you all know, we are going to Front End Design Conference. Yeah, we love it. So, Front End Design Conference is amazing. It's a conference for web professionals who love their community, the web, and learning. It's in St. Petersburg, Florida, April 25th through the 26th at the lovely Palladium Theater. And right now, we are giving away 2 Front End Conference passes to 2 lucky winners. So all you have to do is tweet "I want a" at Front End Conf ticket at Thunder Nerds, and we'll pick 2 random winners from the entries live on the show on Thursday, March 22nd. So that's next week, you all. So next week
with our show with Annie Vitelli.
Yeah, is it Vitelli? I always want to say like Vital.
No, Vitelli.
Super cool. That's so nifty. Also. We are going to give away a ViewConf ticket today.
We're giving away a ViewConf? I thought we did that last week.
We did, but unfortunately, the winner could not make it because, you know, they're amazing and they're doing awesome, beautiful, wonderful rocket ship stuff. So we will, yeah, I know, right? Rocket ship people. So we're going to give away a ticket again this week live on the show. Is it going to be right now?
No, unfortunately, it is not right now. We're going to get to that in a little bit during the show, so stay tuned.
Really excited. I'm so excited.
I know, it's going to be awesome. So we got a lot of people that enter the contest, so cross your fingers and your toes and your antennas, whatever you have. So we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. We have an amazing guest today. We have Developer Outreach Manager at Pantheon, Tessa Kriesel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. First off, I would just like to say that you are both amazing. I'm a very energetic, outgoing, love talking to people person, and you guys are both just like, boom, like bring the energy, and this is fabulous. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's super sweet. Enjoy that. Thank you. Yeah. We try to bring it. Bring it.
What you're supposed to do. Always have to bring it.
So Tessa, where are you actually joining us from today?
So today I am actually sitting in a hotel room in Miami because I just landed in Miami today for WordCamp Miami. So it's I would say it's probably one of the largest. I don't know if it is the largest, but it's one of the largest kind of regional WordCamps. The organizers do such a fabulous job. And it's one that I definitely enjoy attending each year. Last year was actually my first year, but just attending and seeing how great it is, the kind of diversity of speakers and all the awesome things they do. It's definitely one of my favorite WordCamps. So I'm very excited to be here, and having this podcast the same day I get here just makes my day that much better.
Aww.
That's awesome. Hey, if people want to find out about the conference, what's the URL?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So WordCamps have kind of their official URL structure. And so don't quote me on this. You should probably just Google it. But I think it's 2019.miami.wordcamp.org. I believe that's probably about right. I'd say Google it though. WordCamp Miami 2019.
We'll look it up and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect. good. And if you're local, or even if you're not local and you can hop on a plane really quick and come, you should definitely come. It is a very, very good word camp.
Are you getting to spend a little bit of time in Miami as well? Like, are you just doing the conference, getting jiggy with it? What else are you doing?
I mean, always getting jiggy with it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No.
You need to see Yanette's thing. Oh my gosh. Everyone, you're listening, listen to Yanette Olivo's podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah. Last episode was great.
That's awesome. So I got here today. The conference starts tomorrow. So we've got some really awesome workshops going on tomorrow. Saturday and Sunday is more structured sessions. There are some more workshops on Sunday. I'm actually not leaving until Tuesday morning, which was by accident because I meant to book on Monday. But I'm not sad about it because I'm from Minnesota and it's like warm and beautiful and there's palm trees and it's icky and snowy and slushy at my house. So I'm going to enjoy the extra day that I am in Miami for sure.
Yes, get that sunlight and vitamin D.
Oh yeah, I need it. You can see my little freckle, my white pasty freckle face. Yeah, definitely need some sun.
We understand that life.
Yeah, what's it like 30 degrees there right now with that? What is it, a tropical or snow bomb, something they're calling it? Snow cyclone, some crazy shit.
A snow bomb. Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible.
There's something they call that was a wildly crazy term.
That actually sounds kind of cool. So what actually the chaos that we are in right now is that like we got a bunch of snow. Like actually this year has been insane. We've gotten so much snow and Minnesota is like known for snow, but it's just been insane amounts of snow. And now the last 2 days it's been raining. So all of the snow we have is just like wet and really heavy and like slush. So it's just nasty. Like I got stuck in my driveway last night, had to like maneuver my way back into the garage area. So yeah, I'm like totally enjoying this snow-free world here in Miami. You seem like there's some pictures on my Twitter actually. So if you want to see like what this crazy slush looks like, I posted it last night. I'm like, I don't know if I'll get out of my driveway to get to Miami.
Oh wow, that bad?
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. But anyways, that's Minnesota, and I don't mind the snow. It's just a little crazy right now.
So, have you always lived in Minnesota? Is that where you got your start in the industry, or did you come there for university or something? Like, what's the story with that?
Yeah, so I've actually always lived in Minnesota. Technically, I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. But still very close to.
Like the show / movie?
Yes, like the slow. Yes. So actually, I live like just north of Brainerd, which Brainerd is like a hit city inside of, I believe it's the movie. I can't remember if it's a movie or the show. It might be in both. So I live like 20 miles north of Brainerd, but it's like 40 miles like south of Bemidji. So both Brainerd and Bemidji are mentioned in the show and the movie. So you'll have to like listen for those. And I live in the middle of, yeah. And actually it's kind of funny because my parents are from two tiny little towns like by Fargo. And they are not necessarily listed in the show, but one of the posters that they took for the like season 2, I think it is, of the Fargo show is actually like the main street, which there's nothing there, but like main street of this small town. So it's just kind of, yeah, it's kind of an interesting little appeal, I guess, to that area.
Oh my gosh, your history is in a show. How cute is that?
So cute. Well,
I love that.
I mean, minus the fact that I feel like they take our accents. And I mean, don't get me wrong. As you start listening, you'll eventually hear it if I say so or bag or something else. But they definitely take our accents and like kick it up a few notches. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's TV, right? Totally. Speaking of your history and the history of the town, could you mind telling us a little bit about your history and how you got your start in the industry and, you know, how you came to development and development outreach and what you're doing now? Like, what was the beginning?
Yeah. So this is actually a really fun story to tell. So I'm glad you asked this. It actually started, so I'm a mom, now married, got a few kids, adore them. But when I first started doing it, so I went to school for business management. I wanted to run my own restaurant. I wanted to get into hospitality. And I do still really love that. Like in the future, at some point in time, I'd love to like bartend again just for fun, but it's what I really like to do. I like talking to people and I like getting to know them. And so I did that. The hours weren't great though, right? When you have kids, you're like, I don't want to work until midnight and close out a restaurant. And so once found out I was having my son, I decided that I wanted to get into tech. Like I've always loved computers. I mean, even when I was a kid, it was like, oh, this VCR is broken. How can I take this apart and like figure out how to fix it? It's just like every little electronical thing just really like intrigued me. So excuse me, naturally, my dad was always trying to push me towards the computer route. And I'm like, no, like, A, you're telling me what to do. That makes me not want to do it. B, like, I want it to be like a fun hobby. I want to continue to love doing it and not turn it into something that becomes a career that I hate. Well, turns out he was right. I hope he doesn't hear this podcast. And decided to like get into tech. So how it started was when I was pregnant with my oldest son, I was obsessed with Guitar Hero, like obsessed. I loved playing it. Like I would play more than I would like to admit. And I decided that it'd be really super fun. At that time, it was less common to be able to have online tournaments with people. And it was a little bit more strategic to be able to do that. So you could definitely do it, but it was like, there was no way of like, oh, we're going to build a party. Like right now when my husband plays Call of Duty, it's like he can have all his friends and they can like build a party in Call of Duty and they can play together. Like that wasn't really a thing then. And so I decided that I was like, okay, I've got these friends that I like to play with, but there isn't really an efficient way for us to play together and kind of structure that. So I wanted to build a website where like you could go out and play, like play with your friend, play by yourself, come back, enter your scores in, and then validate that against your partner. So your partner would be like, yep, this is what our scores are, and then just confirm that. So I built this out in just like very basic PHP, actually started in Joomla. So I tested out a few different things, ended up landing on Joomla. And I built out this kind of like tournament structure site. Nothing complex, because at that time I did not really know how to code. It was just like me Googling things, because it was like back in like 2006, 2007, I think.
Yeah, good luck back then.
Right, exactly. So I'm like trying to figure things out the best that I can. Not a lot of really great tutorials at that point. There were some paper books. So I owned some pretty heavy like PHP paper books. And eventually I ended up getting to like this really fun kind of tournament site. Nothing crazy complex, but it was like, it used the user profiles from Joomla. It allowed for like that kind of validation. And we had like a hierarchy of tournaments. And it actually got recognized by Activision. So Activision like noticed what we were doing. Yeah, it was fun. So they noticed what we were doing. They're like, hey, if you're going to have these official tournaments, like let's post them on our community. So they had like this forum community, which has since like blown up and gotten more complex and more advanced, of course. But back then they're like, yeah, we have our tournaments. And then we've also got like these GH Jammers tournaments is what the site was called. So it was so fun. And I loved Guitar Hero. And I was like, this is like making my tech dream and my like fun hobby dream like a reality. Got lots of really cool swag. And yeah, so that's like essentially how I got started in like building websites. It was just like a desire to do something and a like love for technology, and it kind of mixed together. And I started freelancing on Joomla sites, and eventually that turned into WordPress and did some Drupal stuff. And you know, however many years later, here I am today.
That's super freaking nifty.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was like I love telling that story because I mean, everyone has a cool story, right? Like you all got into tech somehow and it's really interesting. But for me, it's like, it's kind of emotional because it was like, I wanted to get away from like this restaurant business and I wanted to be able to like provide for my kids, and I got to take my hobby and like do that and mix it together. And it was great.
I love that so much. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm like very emotional. I love it. It's really cute.
Yeah, I'm super emotional too. So. We're women. Like that's just a thing.
Even what about me? I'm emotional.
Perfect. Accurate statement.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Janelle could,
yeah. He's the best at it.
I know.
I got a trophy.
There's always some like bias around that. And I never try to like, you know, fall into like those biases. But I think at the end of the day, like we're all emotional. It's just whether we're willing to admit it or not.
Oh no, mine just comes out like,
yeah, that's the best way, honestly.
That's really cool that you were able to like, you know, build a family like with code, which is super cool, right? Like how I don't think there's a lot of people who can say that. Like I built a family out of code, like just saying, not only like a work family, but like you also like built your literal family like around code. That's super cute. That makes my soul smile.
Yeah.
We'll have to add a Guitar Hero after this.
For real, we need to do that.
So get this. This makes me really sad. So this is going to be a sad part of the show. That, well, at least for me, is that I went to WordCamp Phoenix last month, and they had what is a super, super awesome after party thing, is they had trucks that they pulled in that had TVs and like video games. So you could go out there and like play video games. It was so cool. So we go out there and they have Guitar Hero, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like I used to play on Expert and I used to be very, very good. So I tried on like Medium because I'm like, it's been a while. I couldn't even play on Medium. It was so sad. I'm
no!
My Guitar Hero,
day.
I know my Guitar Hero skills have disappeared, but
I think that's all right.
Right.
That's what happens with time.
Yeah, you retire one skill and you gain another one.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, speaking of retiring one and gaining another one, now you have a brand new skill that you're flexing at Pantheon, right?
Yeah. So at Pantheon, so previous to Pantheon, pretty much been a developer. I focused in open source PHP, so a lot of Drupal, WordPress, some Joomla. Joomla kind of started to dissipate as time went on. But at Pantheon, I was brought in a kind of a different type of role. So essentially, in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily called developer relations, but now today we call ourselves, developer relations team. Which is super fitting for me because I love people. Like coming from hospitality and coming from like that kind of service industry, like I really enjoy talking to people and having that exposure. So I've got like the best of both worlds. I've got like this tech role also mixed with like this people role. And about a year ago, I went from just being a developer advocate, which not really just because they're amazing, but I moved into a role of developer outreach manager. So with that kind of change, it meant that I was doing a lot more to support our developers kind of on the outside. So external folks that are using Pantheon, figuring out how I can best support them and best kind of support what they're doing. So essentially, today it's a lot of like managing a community. We're kicking off a really super, super exciting project next week around kind of some like brand advocacy. It's a little secret, not super secret, but you all should definitely watch. If you're a Pantheon user, definitely watch your email, watch the site. But kind of digging into more of that community aspect, like all of us, like I'm pretty sure there's like not a single developer that exists in this world that hasn't used Stack Overflow or Google or some other like form of a tool set to be able to figure out what they need to do. And obviously that fits with Pantheon as well. And so I want to make sure that we're catering to our users and providing all of the resources that they need or can use to be 100% successful on our platform. And if you've never used Pantheon, it's a very developer-focused platform. So it's got really awesome workflow from that dev, test, and that live process, as well as like multi-devs, which are essentially Git branches to let you kind of branch off. So the workflow, if you're not used to kind of that, I wouldn't say it's a more advanced workflow, but what I would say is a more kind of strategic workflow. It's something that can be a little bit hard to get into. And so I want to make sure that anyone that ever comes to Pantheon has like the most amazing experience. And so anything that I can do around that, and that's essentially really what that kind of new role is like making sure everyone is just happy and they're getting what they need. And it's been absolutely fabulous.
I remember the thing that really sold me on Pantheon was being able to have all the updates just sitting there ready for me to say, deploy. There's a new Drupal update. Would you like to deploy this? Yeah, thanks. Done. Okay, that was easy.
You're like, yes, I absolutely do want that. Yeah, I totally agree.
So you don't have to have, I'm totally not a Pantheon person. I've never seen it or used it. So please evangelize to me. So this is kind of like, you don't need a dedicated person to essentially like yarn add all the things for you.
You do not need that.
Oh, wow. So you're like basically a whole architect person just in one package with a bow.
Totally. I think that's exactly what it is. I think that there is Pantheon really takes it so that, sure, there are people that do DevOps and they love that work. I feel like in the Drupal and the WordPress space, there are more people that just want to build sites and they don't want to have to worry about that. And Pantheon definitely kind of takes that need for a special DevOps person managing servers and emails. Oh God, emails. Like just not having to deal with all of that stuff and just have a platform that is built completely optimized for your WordPress or your Drupal site with all of the great workflow. And we've got like a really cool kind of API tool called Quicksilver. We've got Terminus, which is our command line tool. Oh, yeah. So we're able to do like some amazing like automated workflow, automated updates, automated like CI, just a lot of really cool advanced stuff with our tool set and then, kind of that hosting infrastructure behind it. Like, yeah, I can't say enough amazing things. And I can do that with like major authenticity because when I applied at Pantheon for the first time and started using the tool, I was like, if I don't get this job, my entire agency is switching to Pantheon. Like this is a thing. It's awesome tool set for sure.
Yeah, it was so easy for me to sell this to my company because just the fact that, people might think of it, oh, it's just another host. No. There's so much to this tool, like being able to, like you were saying, like just the fact that you have all these, the different environments too, like having the dev test and your live, and be able to easily just, try some stuff out with your team and branch stuff off, and, look at it on the dev site and go, oh, you know what, that doesn't work.
Totally.
That's definitely not going to test.
Yeah, absolutely. Our multi-devs really allow you to be able to have like a full WordPress or Drupal installation, but be able to like feature out the things you want to do, right? So if you've ever worked on a website where maybe you're mid-development, it's a new site, or maybe you're not, but the client is like, I don't want that to be a part of our workflow. We're not launching it for a while. You bring it into a multi-dev. It's essentially a feature branch. You can work on that. You send them a URL, like you've got a URL instantly. So the second that you've got something up there, you can easily send them that URL, and they can look at anything that you're working on. So yeah, very convenient. I mean, I could talk about this for hours and hours.
No, me too.
Totally
amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. But I mean, speaking of evangelizing and things like that, like what is the difference between your last role as a developer advocate to a developer outreach role? How does that differ? And like, do you mind giving us like insight on both of those jobs? Because maybe those are kind of new terms for our listeners.
Yeah, of course. So I think, developer relations is really kind of the industry term for what a developer advocate does. And even though I feel like that's a pretty known industry, it's actually really not. So what I like to think of as like a developer advocate or a developer relations team is, and it doesn't always have to be this way, but it's usually like the face of a brand or the face of a company, right? So I can go to a conference, or I can write a blog post, and I can very authentically talk about our product because I am a developer. I've used these, or I've actually tried to like from home scratch, build out these types of tools that have like this workflow to make my life easier as a developer. And so in this role, I'm able to step into it and be very authentic about what Pantheon can and can't do. And so I think it's more around like relating, right? So like think of like when you're going to buy a cell phone, you're like, sure, nowadays, I feel like we've like got like a subset of like 3 options, but there are more. There are many phones. And you're like, okay, I'm ready for a change. Like, what kind of cell phone do I want? You go to your friends, right? You're like, hey, what kind of cell phone do you have? Like, what do you like about your phone? What do you not like about your phone? And even though I work at Pantheon, people can very authentically approach me and say, hey, like, what do you like about Pantheon? Or what would I like about Pantheon? Or why would you recommend this? And having experience in other places, like I've set up an own server, I've done VPSs, I've done, AWS, I've also used other managed hostings. There's a variety of different options out there, and developer relations is really the idea of being able to relate to your end customer. So even though sometimes it never feels salesy to me, but even though some of those conversations, I think people step into them and think that I might be a sales rep, it's not at all. Like I can step back and be very relatable and just talk to them about like what I know and how the tool can help them. And I think that's what makes developer relations, in my opinion, very successful, is that it's someone who is essentially you, like whoever's looking for that tool, being able to have an open conversation around what you're doing. And I think in the past, it's been fairly uncommon to see these types of roles, right? Like I'm thinking of like large, crazy, kind of overwhelming tech conferences or overwhelming like conferences in general. Maybe they're very like niche to their industry. And there's not often times where you really get those kind of tech people that you can have like those open conversations with. I feel like they used to be more hidden anyways. And maybe it's just me that thinks that. But I feel like nowadays it's starting to get more open with more developer relations teams and that ability. So kind of what a day-to-day looked like was like blog post writing or documentation writing or creating a presentation. At Pantheon, my team actually does a lot of training. So we bring people in if they're like, I want to use Pantheon. They're like, I don't know how I can best use it. And it might not be that they don't know what they're doing necessarily. It might be that they're like, this is what I want to do. How can you help me get there? And so our team does a lot of that too, is like working with them to make sure that they get to where they want to be on the platform.
Heard that. How does that like, I mean, I know this might sound a little weird, but like, how do you all continually gain knowledge while you're doing this, right? So like you not only have to relate to the developer that's currently working and maybe like, weird circumstances, right? They might have like terrible tooling and they're like, we're drowning. We're trying to find a solution. I don't know what's going on. Please help me, right? How do you, understand that plight or understand what's going on, normally, right? Like, what are the most advanced tools that you could possibly use? And do you code with those just to kind of see like, hey, this works out better? Or like, what is your personal project life like for Pantheon?
Yeah. So that's actually a really good question. So I think that in general, it is a little bit of a struggle. So we attend enough events where I feel like I can sit in enough sessions and absorb the content that I need to know. So begin to learn other things. But at the same time, we, like my entire team, at least in our former lives, are all developers. We've all been developers working on projects. Like my boss used to own an agency, but before that was a developer. Most of my other coworkers are all developers. And so we don't write code anymore necessarily. I feel like more of the code that I write in this role is things around how to make their website successful. So a lot of things that I've gotten to dig into is like continuous integration or automated testing, or some of kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say they're advanced, but for some people, they might be considered the more advanced kind of steps to take with their website building. But it is hard to like stay up to date on some of that stuff, especially if I'm not in a role where I get to like write code every day. So every once in a while, I've got someone that'll like pitch me a side project and I'll work on some side work. But funnily enough, like I'd say it was like 6 or 8 months ago, I went to go like write some CSS and all I wanted to do was like a display inline block. And I'm like, oh wait, what selector is that? Or like what I can't even remember now. What property is that? That's what I need. Like, how do I write that? Like my brain just like stopped because it used to be so common muscle memory that it's like, it's kind of easy to lose some of that muscle memory. So we definitely make sure, we also get to spend a lot of time with agencies and we get to spend a lot of time with our customers. So in that kind of training realm, we get to sit down with folks and ask them like, what are things that are important to you? What are things that you're trying to learn? How are you trying to advance your workflow? And be able to like actually talk to them and see what they're doing. So that keeps us kind of up to date on like what agencies might be, new cutting edge type of technologies, getting into headless with WordPress and looking at some of the other stuff.
What they might expect to see in the future.
Yes, exactly. So besides that, in conferences, that's probably about how we do it. But in general, I think it's a little bit harder because I'm not a developer on a day-to-day basis and have to actually use it every day.
I'm sure it builds kind of like a sense of community though, that
totally.
You're constantly asking questions, right? So people kind of like feel more connected with you and they can trust you maybe a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, I think that might be true. I think like a lot of it too is that like, it's just, especially in WordPress and Drupal, like everyone is so great. Like I really cannot say that enough. And I think it's like the open source side of it, because Joomla was the same way. Like the community is always so welcoming, like open arms, come and join us, come and hang out at a WordCamp, talk to us about WordPress. Like it's just such a welcoming community that I feel like once I attended just a couple events, I was like, I have all of these WordPress friends. This is so great. And I think that also helps too, is like having a really great open community to be able to spend time with.
Love that. Well, how do you go about maybe starting to talk? When was your first kind of talk that you gave, especially as like a developer advocate or, or developer outreach in general?
Yeah. So I don't know, it's been a while. So I would say when I was doing some Joomla development, I gave a couple talks at like Joomla days. And that was really just my desire to like share knowledge. I am all about teaching people things I know. And even if I don't think that I know something that well, I'm like, I'll teach you what I do know. Like, I'll tell you what I know. You tell me what you know. Like, let's cover all these bases. And so I would say originally, started talking at a couple of Joomla days. I'm from like kind of central Minnesota. I ended up moving to Minneapolis about 5 years ago. Just this last summer, I moved back home to like central Minnesota. But when I moved down to Minneapolis, I got involved with Girl Develop It pretty heavily and a lot of the other tech initiatives. So we've got a couple code schools in Minneapolis, or we did. There's just one now. And when I moved down there, the goal was like, I know how to code now. I've taught myself how to do this. I've done a lot of freelance work. I've worked worked at a couple companies, but I really want to get involved in the community. I want to figure out what I don't know. And so in doing that, I also wanted to share things I did know. So I did a lot of teaching, a lot of presentations, a lot of mentoring, just any opportunity that I could to give back to the community, I was always doing. And so it just came natural to me to be a public speaker. I know it doesn't always come natural to everyone, but for me, it was like, I just want to teach you what I know. And I didn't look at it as everyone's staring at me, I'm giving a presentation. I looked at it and like, there's no other way for me to share my knowledge. So I'm just going to do what I need to do so that I can like share everything that I know with you. So it was just a very natural fit for me. And then coming onto Pantheon, obviously my teaching and some of that other presentation knowledge definitely came into play. I've done a lot more public speaking while at Pantheon, where I feel like more of my past experience, or at least directly before that, was more teaching, more workshop styles, a smaller group of people, but very hands-on, helping them figure out the things that they just weren't figuring out or didn't quite know yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing where some people have that gift and some people don't. You obviously do, and then that's great that you could have the ability to share all the things you know. And speaking of which, you actually founded a few organizations to help people out, where you mentor and you do some outreach. Do you mind if we jump into some of those, like Outspoken Women?
Yeah, I would love to talk about Outspoken Women. So to just kind of give a highlight of what Outspoken Women is, it was an initiative that I started, man, it's almost been like 2 years at this point. So very excited about that. So it's coming up on 2 years this coming May. And it wasn't meant to be anything large. It was just really meant to be a way to get some more exposure for technical women, and they don't even have to be technical, but just women speakers inside of the open source tech industry. I was often hearing, admittedly, like it's fairly uncommon, and it's fairly uncommon to not get accepted to speak at certain conferences if the skill set is there and the audience is correct on what I'm pitching. And unfortunately, it's because of the lack of women in tech. And we all know it's a problem, right? Like it's very obvious. But I think the part of it that I wanted to try to help with was the part where there was like less women who were public speaking. And it might have been because there are less women, period. But I think there's some other aspects to it. Some of it might be fear. Maybe it's not something that they're comfortable doing. Some of it might be they've never done it before. Other things might be like financial hurdles, or maybe they're moms. Maybe they've got kids and they just can't step away, or maybe they can't afford to step away. And so the idea of Outspoken Women is a resource for any women or non-binary individuals who want to speak in open source tech. So it got started as like a list of speakers. So if you categorize yourself as one of these folks, then you join Outspoken Women, you're listed as a speaker. Event organizers could then have a resource to say, I need more women speakers. You should go to Outspoken Women. Like that's where you can go find those speakers. So I kept hearing there wasn't a lot of technical women speakers, or really just kind of a lot of speakers in open source tech in general. And so I wanted to help with that first. Is like, it started as just a list. Like, let me find these women, let's get them in one place so that we, A, can get them recognized, and B, help event organizers be able to kind of help with that diversity problem. And then it really pushed into the financial side of it. So I have been working pretty hard at my job. I've got kids at home, so it's been hard to kind of grow this to where I want to. But we've done a couple scholarships where really, really generous companies, mostly in the WordPress space, have donated funds to be able to cover travel or cover childcare for a couple of women speakers. And that is
awesome.
I love that so much.
Yeah. And that's the space that we really want to grow it in the most, is that there are so many women that have to say no because they just can't do it. And it's usually some type of a hurdle. And most of the time it comes down to the financial side of it, or the childcare, or some other hurdle that's stopping them. And so our mission is to take down those hurdles. It's like, take down any hurdles that exist to get those women in those speaking positions.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, how long did you say you've been doing that? When did you start it?
About 2 years ago now. So it's in the WordPress and Drupal space. I think quite a few people know about us. It's less common in there. The intent was to be all of open source tech. I limited it to open source just because otherwise, like, tech can get so big, and I wanted to be able to really help the people that needed the help. And if we got too big too fast, you can't do that. But yeah, so essentially kind of that open source tech area.
So how do people apply for the scholarship?
So if they go to outspokenwomen.io, we're currently actually revamping the website. So even though I am a developer, the last version of the website that we built out has had some like sort of like issues with the community plugin that we are using. But in general, the content is there. So outspokenwomen.io is the website. We've got our scholarship form up. We really need to do a lot more like marketing push and kind of get this out there, because like the scholarship funds are harder to find until more people know about us. But what has been really great is like if we've got someone who's looking for a scholarship, we've been able to do a call out and say, hey, we're really looking for funds for this person. They need to get to this event. Or if it's a private and they don't want anything to be announced yet, just asking for a general ask. And we've gotten a lot of really great responses in that WordPress and Drupal space. And I would love to see it go further. Like I think we've also got like a mentoring avenue to it too. So if you're looking for mentorship, if that's something that you've never been a public speaker before, but you want to be, we've got tons and tons of speakers who have all decided that they want to be mentors, and we've been able to mentor a large group of women also. So it's just like so many great pieces to it. It's like mentorship. Let's get your name out there. Let's get you some speaking engagements. And if you've got those financial hurdles, like let's help you get past those.
And the Twitter handles for if somebody's looking for it, it's also Twitter on outspoken_women.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
How do we get our listeners to help with this cause and donate their time or money or effort to this? Because this sounds really, really great.
I love that you just asked that. Like that is definitely what this organization needs to scale, because I have such a busy and chaotic life that's really been the lack of the resources, has been the lack of availability to scale this. So if you do go to outspokenwomen.io, you can reach out to us. There's a contact form. Otherwise, the email is hello@outspokenwomen.io. Just reach out in whether it be Twitter or whether it be via email. Like we've got a couple women who have been really great about helping out, but we would really love to take this like far beyond what I can do in one day. I would just love lots of resources towards this. So that would be fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can do some kind of initiative. Like if somebody donates, we can give out a free shirt or something. What do you think, Frederick?
Maybe, yeah, we could do something like that. And if we could get somebody that donates X amount of money, we could have them as a guest on the show.
Ooh, ooh.
You guys are so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
love that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll get together after we talk, and we'll talk about some ideas that we have. But yeah, I would love to do something like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's help you scale.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yeah, and let's help everybody scale.
Yeah. People and some scholarship funds are what we really need. I think people the most. People can help us like get that exposure and help us start to gain those scholarship funds. But yeah, definitely kind of two of that, resources and money, obviously. I guess that's what everyone always needs, right?
And you also have founded another organization called Coders of Tomorrow, TMRW.
Yeah, we have to be
tomorrow.
We have to be hip, right? Because it's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. all the kids are like, what? It's like totes and adorbs. I feel like I am a millennial, but like I cannot say those words and feel okay about myself.
Oh, should I not be doing that?
No, you can say it all you want. I just can't do it. So
because I totes do that.
You totes. That's adorbs.
Right.
I can't even say it. Like I start laughing. I just can't do it. So Coders of Tomorrow is an organization that teaches kids to code. So when I was down in the Twin Cities, it was very important to me recognizing the problems we had, right? Like, and still to this day, like Pantheon is awesome. They are so diverse and we bring in whatever we can when we can. It just so happens that I'm the only woman on my team because that's just how it worked out. And it is such a common problem for many women who are in a technical situation. And really the way to solve that is to make sure that girls and boys know that like women can do tech things and we should be doing technical things. And so it was as I got towards the end of my time with Girl Develop It and decided to step back from chapter leadership and step back from a lot of that involvement, trying to look at like what I wanted to do next. And it was like, kids, I want to teach kids to code. Like kids are so sweet and they're innocent and their brains are so ready to like absorb all of the things that I'm like, these are going to be like the best little students ever. And actually one of the last sessions that I taught at a school in Minneapolis, in South Minneapolis, it was just an amazing situation. Like the school itself had a very diverse, like in Minnesota, I can tell you right now, you come to Minnesota, we are lacking diversity very, very much. But this school did not. It was a South Minneapolis school that had a lot of diversity in terms of race, in terms of gender. And it was just like the best kind of atmosphere to teach these kids to code. So they had a requirement that they had to do some type of extracurricular program. So in the beginning, there were some kids that are like, I have to do this. I'm just here. And I could kind of tell that there was like this kind of slump with some of these students. They're like, I don't really want to be here, but I am. And so I'm like, okay, how can I get them excited? So I decided that I grabbed an HTML file, I made a couple changes, pushed it up to the internet, and like showed them in that class. And they're like, what? We can build the internet like right now, this very second? Like that's how easy it is. And it took like 15 minutes, and it was a complete 360. Like everyone was really excited to learn how to code. Like, how do I write that? I want some GIFs in there. Like, get me some images. I want to make this all crazy colors. Okay, how do I get this on the internet? And going from that, like, I'm forced to be in the situation, even in the same day, to like, okay, I want to know how to do this, was like I might even tear up just talking about it. It was just like so amazing. Like these kids came, and most of them like came from homes that you could tell were like not probably like the best situations. And they would come back to class the next week and they're just like, Tessa, we're so happy to see you. Like, look at what I worked on. Like, I don't have a computer at home, but I spent time at school. And it was just like, my heart broke because I wanted to buy every little child in that class computers, but also like made me very, very happy because it was like, they're so excited about something that they wanted nothing to do with in day one. And that right there is like the mission of Coders of Tomorrow. It's like teaching kids the amazingness that tech can be. And there's so many different initiatives that do that. It was just my way of like, I want to do it. And I want to make sure that I'm spreading that passion and that I'm bringing that around. So it focuses more around like extracurricular after school activities. So coming into schools and offering those programs so that a school, especially now that I live in like a super small town again, those schools in those like rural towns that don't have a lot of exposure to that are ones that are also major passion areas for me. So as you can see, like when I care about things, I like get fully invested in and make sure that I can like spread, like I said, spread the things I know. How can I make it better?
Well, just so we could get this for our audio listeners, and we'll put this all, of course, in the show notes. But what are the what's the website? What's the Twitter handle?
Yeah. So, man, that's a good, I don't remember I think Coders of Tomorrow, like just like the full name is the Twitter handle. The website is codersoftomorrow.org. So Coders of Tmrw. And it just points over to our Facebook page right now. Cause like, you know, the developer that I am don't have time to like maintain a website. So we've got a Facebook page that's kind of handling all of that. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. So we can donate to that one too. That'd be super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I donate to all the things.
I think that one is more about like resources. So the money, there's not really like a need for money, right? We just need people that are willing to teach kids to code. Like there's not a lot of need for the actual monetary side of that. I mean, although it'd be really cool to like have, you know, computers that we can bring around, and Pantheon has graciously donated some computers that I can bring those around to teach kids. This has been awesome. But it's more about like finding people who are willing to teach kids. Like I've got an HTML and the CSS curriculum all built out. We've got kind of an intro to WordPress curriculum built out. It's just finding those folks that are willing to take that curriculum and go and teach it. And I don't care if it's in an official Coders of Tomorrow capacity, or if you just want to take the resources and just teach kids to code, because that's what you care about. And that's really all that matters to me at the end of the day, is like teaching more kids about the technologies and the awesome things that we can do on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, you have kids, I have kids. It's when you see them like take something like that, and you know, it like clicks, and it brings them so much joy. It just, you know, there's nothing better.
I mean, I think we all can relate to that, right? We've had like those aha moments where we're learning. I mean, it happens probably on the daily. It happens on the daily for me, where I'm like, whoa, sweet. I didn't know how to do that, or I didn't know that I could do that. And in kids, there's so much, they're just like a sponge, right? Like you teach them those things, and the reward we feel, it's like 10 times what we feel to a kid. So yeah, it's amazing to watch.
Oh, it makes my soul smile. I love it.
Well, good.
I love that you're able to speak about the community and like speaking and women and everybody and all humans of human nature. So, we want other people to hear some talks in person. So I think maybe right now is the time to announce a View conference ticket winner.
Ooh, what a good idea. I like that. Yeah. All right. How are we going to do it?
I tried a segue. I did it. I tried.
How are we going to do it?
So there's this little thing called Ruby. Have you heard of it?
You mean like rubies and stones, or?
It's like a gemstone, but also is a language.
Oh, okay.
I know, right? Super fancy.
Like German.
Exactly like German, except for the computer. So not.
Computer, okay.
Yes. Okay. So I think let's see if I could share my screen with everybody. I am not technologically okay. Meaning like literally
okay.
No.
I could back Janelle up here. She is not.
I am the worst at computers. Like I can.
You're not hardware.
Like literally, I can code for days. You were
software. You were not hardware.
Exactly. Like if you tell me how to turn on my computer, I'm like, where? How do you even turn this on? I don't know.
Alexa, turn on my computer?
Yes, I literally have a Google thing that like does everything for me because I don't know how to hardware. Anyway,
we all have our thing.
We totally have our thing for sure.
Yeah, I don't do like that. So, yeah.
So if I'm trying to screen share, don't hate me because I probably borked it. Okay, so everyone can see Frederick a million times.
I'm like an MC Escher painting.
Nifty. So we have right here all of our wonderful people. So everything goes. So we have like we've got 47 people here. Well, it says 47, but it's not because indexing. So this is our person that could not go. So that takes out 2, right? So we have 45 people. And then right now I'm literally going to live code you all. Ready for this?
Yes.
I'm coding. Okay, oh my God. In a terminal.
Oh,
like in a matrix.
Okay, my N doesn't work. Please don't.
That's literally what my kids think it is. If I'm in terminal, they're like, "What? You know how to do that?" I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a hacker.
So right now we're gonna pick a random number between 0 and 45. Y'all ready?
Yeah, totally.
This is so
boom.
And
it's 2. Wait, I lied. It's 34.
34. Who's the winner? Number 34.
Boom, 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 boom. Austin something? Just Austin.
Austin, you win. Austin 30. I can't read it from here.
Oh, wait. It's Austin, AUSTIO 36.
But Austin,
right
congratulations,
here.
You win. Austin is the winner. Go, Austin.
Hey, okay, how do I stop sharing? I did it.
I did it.
Nailed it.
You hardwared.
I did it. You guys, you saw a random live coding. By the way, you can write that yourself in quite literally 4 seconds, just like I did. Because coding is cool and Ruby is pretty awesome. So if you need to learn about Ruby. I know, right? Ruby is so cool. Like y'all need to get on that Ruby life. Actually, I'm a front-end dev, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But get on that Ruby life.
I've actually heard amazing things about Ruby though. That was like before I really started heavy digging back into like the WordPress space. I was like, Ruby might have to be like my new thing.
Oh, people love the rubies.
I know it never happened. Maybe it needs to happen someday.
It is pretty nice. It
back around like everything else,
right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Like if you like read it though, like that's the one thing that I do love about Ruby is that I could like read it and be like, I don't know backend very well, but I can see what's going on here. I understand. These are words. These are words.
I would like that then, because I consider myself more front end dev too, even though I very much can do PHP things. But I think I can get behind that. Ruby might have to be like the next venture I dig into. Although I do think, even though I'm not that old, I think that I have decided, although I just said that, so maybe I'm wrong, that I'm like too old to learn new stuff because I'm like, why does it take me so long to learn new things, right?
That is a sham. No.
Yeah, don't fall into that.
Stopping this podcast so that we can yell at you.
You are never too old to learn anything. I mean, besides, you look way too young to say something like that.
Thank you. But have you ever have you had that realization? Maybe it's just me, but I feel like when I was more. I get it. You know what it is? I had more energy. I was not a mom. I was not a overwhelmed person. That was probably it.
When you have time, when you're like in your 20s and the energy, of course you could be like, oh, I'm going to stay up until 7 the next day.
That's totally it, I bet.
Let me ask you a question. Do you own a Mac?
I do. I am
okay
right now.
Do you know the letters I, R, and B?
Oh, okay. I mean, I can see them on my keyboard.
Okay. So all you have to do is open up that terminal, type in IRB, hit enter, and you already have a Ruby playground.
Okay, I feel like I should start live coding now.
You really should. Like, really, honestly, like you just type stuff in English. And
it's like, it's there.
It's amazing how much stuff is actually built into the Mac, and like I forget what it is, but like you could actually play Tetris in Terminal. There's a command, like a Tetris command, and you could just use your keys.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
I tell you what.
iTerm. Do you use iTerm too? iTerm is my terminal right now. And everybody's gonna learn a thing. So you just learned how to make a randomizer in literally 12 seconds, Tessa. What's your terminal app? What's your terminal app?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, like which one do I use?
Yeah, I use iTerm too.
Here, like at work, I'll use Terminal, just like regular Terminal.
The regular Terminal, yeah.
But at home, I use Hyper.
People love the Hyper Terminal. I got to give it more of a chance.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. But
what about you, Tessa?
I'm just lame. I use regular Terminal.
Right?
I feel like maybe I need to. I don't know what this Hyper thing is, but maybe I need to dig into this.
I like all the highlighting you can do in it.
Yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem with, I love my day job, but this is the problem is like, oh, what? There's like this other terminal thing. Like I just use Terminal. Those are the things I need to know about.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of cool things in there. Like you could set it up to like show you like a logo of like the project you're working on and things like that. And it's nice.
Cool.
It is very visually appealing.
See,
and also takes up way too much space. So just so you're aware.
Janelle, we're getting pretty close to the end here. Did you want to jump into another one of these topics, or you want to go straight to the lightning round?
Absolutely. Let's do lightning stuff because it is 8:22. You guys, everything has like gone so fast because we love Tessa so much. That, we don't want to leave her now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
why don't you start off then?
Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Okay. So lightning rounds. Lightning rounds are pretty awesome. They're essentially like all the questions that we wanted to ask you, but we ran out of time because we talked too much.
I talk a lot, so
no, it's literally us. It's okay. Like you're perfect. You can talk the whole show.
Oh.
We talk a lot. So
I'm a jabby mouth, right? Officially.
Yeah, what's wrong with us? All right, so cool. Ready? It's like literally gonna be random questions. So it could be anything.
So
like,
both of us were just gonna ask you questions.
Like, what is your favorite terminal? To like, what is your favorite pizza topping?
Okay.
Right?
Is this like do it as fast as we can? Because this can be really fun. Okay, let's do it.
Totally do that. Ready?
I'm so ready. Okay.
Go to hair product.
Go to hair product. Oh my gosh. Pureology shampoo.
Favorite cartoon as a kid?
Ooh, Flintstones.
Favorite topping on pizza?
Pineapple. And I know y'all hate me for that, but I love it.
Dude, I love pineapple. I do pineapple with mushrooms. Love it.
Ooh, that would be good.
It's nice.
Yeah.
If you could be any superhero.
Oh, Batman, because he's self. Like he did not have any powers from like some crazy thing that happened. Like he made himself a superhero.
Love it.
I like that.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
What are your kiddos' names?
Caden, Grayson, and Olivia.
What's your dog's name?
Oh, Sophie and Chloe.
Nice.
I'm obsessed with dogs. You like hit the obsession level right there.
Let's see him. Yeah, that's right. You're not in home.
So what is a company or a cause that we didn't mention that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh gosh, so many. Wow, my brain is just like
maybe like the Humane Society.
Oh, totally. Well, so like ASPCA, I think for sure. So I'm all about like the dogs that are like in these absolute. I'm not all about them. It's very sad, but like any organization that is like really good about like saving the dogs that are in like the worst situations. Why can't I think of some? There's like a bazillion that I support.
Because we're doing a rapid fire. And
that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Too fast. Wasn't ready for that one.
Tessa, you walk home, you step into the door, and there's a ghost. What do?
Oh, I give it a hug. Like I'm all about like embracing the oddness of life. Like, what are you doing here? Like,
love you.
How can I help you get?
That is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Ghosts need love too. Hashtag ghosts need love too.
they're like clearly sad. Like they're here for a reason. They need something. How can I get you what you need? Yeah,
exactly. Let's open up a bottle of Belvedere, sit down, and hug it out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Little for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be like Casper, right?
Yeah.
Belvedere. Oh my goodness.
Oh heck yeah, son! I love the Belvedere.
So okay, now that we're talking about drinking, what's your favorite alcohol of choice?
Oh, tequila. I'm not actually a big drinker, but I love myself for margaritas. Like margaritas are my jam.
Love it.
Nice. All right, freestyle rap, go.
Oh, I love myself them dogs. They're furry and snuggly. I like to lay on the. I don't know, you guys. I got a freestyle rap.
Platinum.
Perfect.
Anything that's about dogs or fur or hugs, I'm all about it.
I just want to let our audio listeners know that just so you've heard that because we went back in post-production and I added a little beat over that and it sounds really good. So,
awesome.
So if you're watching the video right now, go back and listen to the audio podcast in a day or two. You're going to love it.
I can't wait to listen to that.
At the same time.
we kick a lot of post-production stuff in there. You'll like it.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Well, I think we're just. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janelle.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I think we're done with the lightning round. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We're about out of time, and Tessa, I want to provide you an opportunity to say anything that you would like to bestow upon our audience. Any kind of words of wisdom, any kind of advice for the people out there.
So I could probably say many things, but the one thing I really want to say is like, share what you know. We all know something. And I don't think that we all realize that we know things that others might not know. And it could be something from like your hobby. It could be something you learned at work. It could be something that you've just picked up on. Like find a way to like share that information with others because it's the only way that we're all going to get better.
Love that. Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
Well, and what's the best way people could get a hold of you or find out more about you? What's your website? What's your Twitter?
Yeah, so Twitter, I'm Tessa K22 pretty much everywhere. So all of the usernames on every forum you could possibly obtain, I'm Tessa K22. So tessakriesel.com is my website. Otherwise, if you pop over to anything Pantheon, I'm probably all over the place in blogs and other areas. So yeah,
you got a lot of videos out there.
Yeah, multiple ways to find me all over the internet.
Janelle, you got anything else?
I love y'all. Y'all are amazing. And this was super fun. And I love all of our listeners. So
ditto. And congratulations to our winner. So thanks so much. We'll tweet that out in a little bit today. So well, Tessa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It has been awesome. What a great way to like come into WordCamp Miami and meet lots of great people and be on a podcast. It's just a good day.
Welcome to Florida.
Yeah, welcome to Miami.
I like love myself some Florida, so I'm happy.
Yeah, get jiggy with it. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Bye.